Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to talk a little bit about the horrors of what can really happen in life, and especially in an emergency situation or in a societal collapse situation. First, I want to welcome all of the new subscribers. We've had just a torrent of new people joining, and especially over on Patreon. Welcome over on Patreon. For those of you who aren't over there yet, look forward to having you over there. Today I just put up, to give you an idea of the difference, what's over there. Just put up one today about how to handle an attack on a restaurant. If you happen to be in a restaurant and those groups of fools decide to target you all. You know, we're coming into a season here where it's getting warmer, and the craziness that we've seen over the past year is only going to increase. I've been through this stuff several times, and every time we get into a summertime, that's when things get a lot worse. So whatever we've seen over the last 12 months or so, I expect it to get worse in the coming months, and I think you should too. Uh, so that's what I covered over there. We'll have some coming up in the future on active shooter situations, what to do in a home invasion, things like that. But I cover the specifics of things over on Patreon. So if you're interested in that, and I hope you are, and you should be, go ahead and join us over there. I'll also say that um, we have a lot of active and former law enforcement, military, um, corrections officers, things like that over there. We have a wealth of experience over there besides me. And in addition to what I cover, there's always a lot of extra introduced by our patrons, and we can all learn a lot from each other. So join us over there if you can. Uh, the horrors that can occur in life are beyond the imagination of the average person. I was reminded of this last night. I watched a movie. I don't often watch movies. Most of them I find are a little bit silly. I don't care much about watching things blow up or listening to actors talk like tough guys or like they think tough guys talk. It just doesn't, it leaves me cold. However, I watched one last night with the very interesting name, I Spit on Your Grave. It was recommended to me by Hallie. If those of you who remember Hallie, she's been on some of these videos with me. She's a good friend and a student. Uh, and she recommended it. I forget why. We were talking about different things. And so I finally did. It actually reminded me of a case that I had been tangentially um, tangentially involved in. I wasn't the lead investigator on it, but it was a horrendous case. It brought to mind, the reason that I'm talking about this is because it brought to mind how truly horrific uh, life can get, that the horrible things that can happen to people and do happen on almost a daily basis here in our country and around the world that nobody ever hears about, nobody ever thinks about, and as a result they don't prepare for it, they're not ready for it. The story is in this movie, it's a horrible thing and then a revenge, and people love the revenge part, but uh, the important part was, and the story is, a young woman, a writer, goes off to a cabin in the woods to write her next book, and she's out there, by herself, and different things happen. But what the upshot of it is that she's attacked by a group of men who take her through an ongoing um, mental and physical torturous uh, episode, ongoing. The writers of it hit on the sadistic, the psychologically sadistic elements of that kind of an attack very well. They could have gone into it a lot more, but they went far further into it than most people would be comfortable watching. And then it goes on and on and on. It's I won't discuss the horrible things that they do to this girl, except to say, and then the second part, she does survive, and then the second part is her revenge on them, which I have to say is creative. Anyway, it made me think about how inadequate most people are to understanding these types of situations. The average person, having seen or starting to watch this movie, would turn away after, just a few minutes and say, I can't watch this. And that is the problem. It's difficult for me to say that people should see the most horrible things that they can imagine, while also realizing that seeing and knowing about those horrible things does take a toll on you, mentally and psychologically sometimes. And of course, being involved in it personally, a little bit more so. To see human beings just absolutely dehumanized and taken through the deepest depravities of where the human mind can go is difficult to handle. However, it helps to prepare a person to be able to prepare to deal with those things that can happen. I often tell people that if they want to really know what to prepare for, they should study some of the home invasion cases that have happened. And one that is I won't put the link here. I think I mentioned this on a video some time ago. And I think I might have put the link there, but I encourage you to look it up. It was the Christian Newsom torture murders in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was a young couple who were abducted by several people, and the things that those people did to them over the course of a couple of days, it'll make you want to puke. So why should you watch it? Because without really accepting that these things happen, you are not able to fully prepare. And I don't mean just prepare physically, but to prepare mentally and emotionally. You won't be able to understand the potential outcome of an attack situation, of the kind of situations we could see as society devolves and collapses, and the kinds of things that you must be able to prepare for this. You have to be ready for these things. If you're not ready for these things, you're not prepared. I don't care how much beans and rice you have. I don't care how many bullets and Band-Aids you have. If you don't have a grasp of the true depths of human depravity and the threat that this could pose to you and the people you love most, then you cannot be prepared. So do I suggest that you watch this movie? Yeah, I do. It's horrible to watch. I wouldn't watch it with any kids around. But whether or not you watch the second half where she gets her revenge, sounds like we got a dual rotor up there coming over. Wonder what they want. Let's see. Yeah? See if you can see that up there. I don't know if I let you see him or not. I couldn't see what the camera was seeing. But we've had more and more of those. Oh, he's circling something. I don't know why. I don't think I'm that interesting. I guess if he sits down out here in the cul-de-sac, we'll see. But I'll try to get back to what I was talking about here. Um, if you don't have a real understanding of the depths of human depravity, you cannot prepare. And so that's why I suggest you watch it, whether or not, I guess this is where I left off, whether or not you watch the second uh, part of it, where she gets her revenge, I would suggest you watch the first. Um, I cover a little bit of this in my books. I don't go into detail just because I don't want to write about it. I've dealt with some of this stuff in the past. Don't want to visit that myself. But watch this and maybe get some of those people in your life that think that life is just peachy and nothing's ever going to happen. This stuff happens all the time, and you don't read about it for certain reasons that I won't get into here. Anyway, I mean, it's not like it's a big secret that I have and nobody else has. It's just no reason to get into it here. And I do suggest you read about the Christian Newsom. Those are two different names. The name of the people, Christian and Newsom, the couple that was abducted and torture murdered. Wrap your mind around that and realize that those things can happen at any time, anywhere, to anyone who is not ready to deal with them. And I'll be dealing with more of this stuff over on Patreon in the future about home invasions and attacks and things like this. And I think it's an important part. It's the next step that most people, after they are just ready to survive, it's the next step that people have to really go to prepare themselves mentally. So I'll leave it at that. I'll remind you again, we welcome you over there on Patreon. It's quite a community. It's getting to be quite a community with a lot of expertise that you can learn from. So if we see you over there, I don't always have time to answer all the comments here on YouTube anymore, but I do answer everyone or try to over on Patreon. So if we see you over there, I look forward to it. But until then, remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and preparing for the worst is important. You know how everybody always says, well, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Well, the problem is that most people have no idea what the worst is. So having an idea and an understanding of that puts you a couple steps ahead of the rest. But you all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.